Hello, I'm Mary Millard. Welcome to another episode of the LECOM Healthy Living Kitchen. I love growing fresh fruits and vegetables in my summer garden. There's nothing like adding their flavor to a great meal. But what if you don't have one? Did you know that you can get your fresh fruits and vegetables delivered from your local CSA? Today, we're going to visit Gordon Post of Post Apples, one of our local CSAs, to talk about community farming. Then we'll head to the kitchen to make a tasty corn-based polenta that you won't want to miss. Then we'll make a wheat pasta and beet salad, a fresh-tasting twist on a pasta dish. It's healthy cooking done tastefully. So let's get cooking. Community-supported agriculture, sometimes known as community-shared agriculture or CSAs, is an alternative locally based agriculture and food distribution system. A CSA also refers to a particular network or association of individuals who've pledged to support one or more local farms, with growers and consumers sharing the risks and benefits of food production. CSA members, or subscribers as they're called, pay at the beginning of the growing season for a share of the anticipated harvest. Once harvesting begins, they receive weekly shares of vegetables and fruit, typically at a predetermined drop-off point. Some CSAs provide for contributions of labor in lieu of a portion of subscription costs. Today, we're talking with my favorite CSA farmer, Gordon Post of Post Apples in beautiful Northeast Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us today, Gordon.
Well, it's nice to be here with you, Mary.
Tell me how you started this, when you started this.
Well, it was 5 years ago. I decided that I was going to do a CSA, but I wanted to determine if we could really raise everything successfully. So I raised as many varieties of vegetables as I could for 2 years, and we raised about 200 varieties of things over a 2-year period. 1 year was a really, really good year, and then another year was a year where we almost didn't have summer, but yet we were able to raise things. And so because of that, then 3 years ago we started. And 3 years ago, we had 78 members. And last year we had 233, and this year we have about 367. It's a moving target because we've had people continue to join.
My goodness. Okay, so we're standing right now in, what are you calling this spot? This is where you kind of package it up the day that you're going to take it to the drop-off points.
Right. We bring the produce from the fields into this building. This is a Quonset building that's been insulated, and it has coolers, and we bring the product in here and we lay it out on tables, like you can see behind us, and each person has a bag with their name on it, and we go right down the line, and this week they'll get a muskmelon and a watermelon, and they get an onion, and they'll get lettuce, and they'll get beets, and they'll get peppers of various kinds, and tomatoes of various kinds, and what else is over there?
Any okra this week? We had okra 2 weeks ago, and I have to say it was
this week,
delicious.
Okra this week, and some folks, but not all, will get artichokes.
So I have to say, I got to know Gordon because the company that I work for put out to all of the employees that we could be part of your PSA or CSA, excuse me. So it was a real treat. It's like Christmas every Thursday when I go down to the vestibule where you drop off the 120 bags or whatever for all the employees. So I feel really lucky to have it right there at my door. Companies can get in on the action too, just like my company. Many companies currently work with Gordon and other CSA farms to provide a drop-off point for the week's fruits and vegetables. So I would say talk to your leaders at your company, your HR department, and see if you can get your share of the farm next year. Gordon, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to come back the next time.
Well, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah,
Mary.
thanks,
Thank you.
Gordon. You're welcome. I loved visiting Post Apples, and this growing season. I got a lot of corn, eggplant, tomatoes. So those are just the ingredients we're going to use for today's recipe. We're making a sweet corn polenta using fresh corn. I think mostly we see polenta in tubes or using cornmeal, but we're going to use fresh corn. And then we're making an eggplant sauce, and it has some tomatoes, some tomato paste, really delicious. And we finish off the polenta when it's just about ready to be served with some feta cheese, some oregano, and some butter, and it is delicious if you like all those ingredients. And if you don't, try it anyway. Okay, so I have some fresh corn off the cob. It's about 6 ears or a little over 4 cups. I've cooked it for about 12 minutes in about 4 1/4 cup of water. So I'm going to go ahead and I brought it to a boil just to let you know, and then I turned it down to simmer, cooked it for about 12 minutes. So I'm just using a slotted spoon. I'm going to take it out and put it into the bowl of a food processor. And I'm going to reserve this liquid that the corn was cooked in. So it smells wonderful. I had so much corn this summer, this past growing season, that I actually blanched and froze. Oh my gosh, I probably have 10 quarts or had 10 quarts of corn in my freezer. Pretty easy to do. And we've been enjoying it all year long. Okay, so get the rest of it in here again. Don't forget to reserve this water. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the food processor, or turn on the food processor, and process until it is a fine paste. So it's going to take a minute or two. Once it's a fine paste, I'm going to put it back in the cooking liquid and cook it some more. In the meantime, I have a non-stick Teflon coated pan over here. It's getting nice and hot. I'm going to add some canola oil. Actually, I'm going to turn it up to about medium-high and add a little canola oil. And again, because it's a non-stick, you don't need too much oil. And canola oil has a higher smoke point. Off. Canola oil has a higher smoke point than olive oil, so which means it will get to a higher temperature without smoking. So once I know that that is nice and hot, I'll throw a piece of eggplant in there. I have 1 eggplant chopped up into about 1/2-inch pieces. You can see here. I left the skin on. Skin is good, a great source of fiber. Eggplant is one of those vegetables that doesn't have a ton of nutritional value, except it is it's a fiber food and it fills you up. So that in itself brings value if you are just trying to eat healthy. So I'm going to go ahead and add my eggplant. I'm going to cook it for about 10 minutes in here. I want it to get nice and brown. Turn it up just a little bit higher. There we go. So while that is cooking, I'm going to take the corn out of the food processor. And be careful because it is hot. I'm going to turn my burner back on to medium-low. And take my blade out of here. So again, if you've had polenta before, it's typically made with cornmeal. You might see it in your grocery store. It comes in kind of like sausage-like tubes, and you can cut it into slices and maybe pan fry it in a little bit of olive oil. Serve it as a side for some of your dishes. Really delicious. I love this recipe. I found this recipe, and I loved it because it's a great way to serve fresh corn and use up that corn when, I mean, we had corn so much in July and August here. And so I'm always looking for new ways to cook with it. So here we have the corn in the cooking liquid, and I'm gonna cook this down. I'm gonna, again, turn it up to maybe medium, see what happens here. I don't want it boiling and splattering all over. But I want to get it into a nice kind of creamy creamy texture. We made grits. We made shrimp and grits in an episode, and if you did try that recipe, it's kind of along that same texture that you want to get it down to. So you want to just cook it in here. Again, the eggplant is, let's see if it's getting, yeah, it's starting to get brown. You can see the brown right there. Is the camera picking that up, guys? Do I need to move it over? Yeah, so you can see it's starting to get brown. That's what you want it to do. Okay, so, all right, so now this is starting to percolate. So I'm going to turn it down a little because I don't really want it to percolate. Turn it down a little bit and continue cooking it. And again, the eggplant is getting there. So the polenta is cooking down. The eggplant is really nice and brown, just so you can get a shot of that. I'm going to go ahead and put some toothpaste into the eggplant. Actually, it's tomato paste. Okay, so it's just about 2 teaspoons of tomato paste. I love buying tomato paste in these tubes because if you've ever opened like a 4-ounce can of tomato paste to get 1 tablespoon for a recipe, you know, I try portioning it out, putting it in the freezer, and then I find it like a year later. So these are really great. So I'm going to add a little bit of, I think it's about 2 teaspoons, and I'll stir that around. Kind of mix that in there. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and switch burners here, and we can get a better shot. So, and then I'm going to add a little bit of white wine, just whatever you have available. Lovely. Cook that up. That'll help kind of disperse the tomato paste a little bit. And again, this is a really great, great summer recipe. So good. I'd be happy and proud to serve this to any of my guests, any of my finest guests. So it doesn't always have to be meat or steak or anything like that. It can be just something different, unique, and this is one of those recipes. I'm going to go ahead and add about 2 tomatoes that I seeded and chopped up. And if you want to seed a tomato, cut it in half horizontally and just kind of with your clean fingers pick out the seeds and then go ahead and chop that tomato. It's really easy to do. I'm going to add a pinch of sugar, and I'm going to add some salt and a little bit of about a half a cup of water, and we're going to cook this for about 10 minutes. Move this out of the way. I'm going to add some chopped oregano too. I think a couple tablespoons of chopped fresh oregano. And this is the basis for our sauce, our eggplant sauce. And I love this because we typically think, well, maybe I typically think of, you know, eggplant, tomatoes, and basil. And so, you know, this is a great way to pull that basil off your, your oregano off your plant in the backyard. And this is just a perfect dish to go ahead and throw some fresh oregano in. So again, you want to take, let me just show you what it looks like right off the plant. It has a stalk to it that runs down here. And you want to go ahead and just, you know, with your fingers pull off the leaves. And at the top, it's very tender, so I don't really mind getting the stalk up at the top. That's fine. So just to show you how to do that. Some of the herbs have a tougher stalk. Rosemary is one of those. Oregano can be as well, to name a couple of them. So you want to try to avoid using the stalk when you're cooking because it's not very tender. Okay, so we have some nice chopped oregano. And again, I'm going to go ahead and put it right on top. I'm going to season this sauce as well with some salt and pepper. I did put a little bit of salt in there, but I want to add a little bit more. Make sure my polenta is still cooking. Looks great. The eggplant sauce smells great. It's perfect. It's been cooking for about 10, 12 minutes. I'm gonna just switch burners here, pull over the polenta, and again, I want to taste that. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and add the feta cheese. I think it's about 6 ounces of feta cheese. You can use a lower fat feta cheese if you find it. It is available in the stores. And I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter and the feta cheese. I'm going to go ahead and just stir that in. Deliciousness again. And you can see the consistency of it. So this is a really nice, if you haven't tried fresh corn polenta, please try it, because it's you see it's really simple to do. I want to make sure it has enough salt and pepper in it. So I'm going to go ahead and taste it. Really, really good. I am going to add a little bit more salt and pepper, so I'm so glad I remembered that. Okay. A little more salt. I wanted to wait till after I added the feta because the feta does have salt in it. It's kind of a salty cheese. So don't be afraid to season your food. Don't be afraid of that salt. Salt, again, to enhance the flavor of food is a good thing unless you're on a salt-restricted diet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and serve it up. See if I get it in the bowl without dripping all over. And this serves about 4 to 6 people as well. Could have it as a starter dish, starter course, I should say. And here is the eggplant sauce. I'm going to put right on top. And it's pretty, and it's fresh, and it's delicious, and it's summery. Go out to your backyard, cut another little sprig of oregano, and serve that on the side, and that is beautiful. So enjoy it, enjoy summer, enjoy all the good things of summer. Have you been indulging in the typical American diet of white bread, white rice, and traditional pasta? Try incorporating whole grains into your diet a little at a time. Experts say that if you eat whole grains more often, that it can prevent heart disease, intestinal disease, diabetes, and even cancer. How do you get whole grains in your diet? Start with finding a whole grain bread, pasta, and cereal that you enjoy. Don't rely on fiber numbers to find whole grains. Light breads may not have the total package of antioxidants in whole grains. Switch from white rice to brown rice. Has a nuttier flavor and takes a little longer to cook, but it's much better for you. Hopefully, some of these tips will empower you to transition your family into the world of whole grains. Your body will thank you for it. So our next delicious CSA recipe is beet pasta with ricotta cheese. And it's not beet pasta because it's really beet. It's using fresh beets, and it's delicious. It's one of my favorite recipes. So first thing we're going to do, well, let me tell you a little bit about beets, about these beets. We're going to trim them off. We're going to take the root end off. We're going to take the greens off. Here I have a regular red beet, and I have a golden beet. And these are grown under the ground. I just want to show you, they're so beautiful. Look at these colors. You cannot, only Mother Nature can create these colors. Really, really lovely. So first thing we're going to do is take a piece of aluminum foil and put the beets that have been cleaned and trimmed in the aluminum foil. We're going to drizzle a couple tablespoons of olive oil, probably, yeah, maybe one is enough. We're going to add some salt, and we're going to add some pepper. Put that on top too, and we're going to fold it up. And we're going to put it in a 400-degree oven, and we're going to cook them until they're tender because we're going to peel them and chop them up. A step I've already done for you. Let me put these in the oven. Ooh, that's a hot one. Okay, so right here I have about 12 ounces, which is 3/4 of a pound, 3/4 of most packets. Most pasta comes in 1 pound packages, so it's about 3/4 of one of those. And it is in boiling water. You bring the water to a boil first, add a little bit of salt. I added just a little bit of olive oil. It's cooking right now. In the meantime, miraculously, the beets have been cooked. Once they're cooked, you go ahead and peel them. You do maybe want to wait a couple minutes because they are hot out of the oven. You can use a towel, and your hands will get beautiful beet juice all over them. So do not wear your best white linen shirt or blouse to do that. Once they are peeled, we're going to go ahead and put them in the food processor. And again, it was about 1 pound of beets. And we're going to put those in there with about a 1/2 cup of toasted walnuts. Now, if you have your oven on for something else, you can take your walnuts, put them on a cookie sheet pan, a sheet pan, and toast them in a 350, 400 degree oven for about 5 to 10 minutes until they get a little bit darker brown. You can also toast nuts in a microwave, and to do that, put them in a microwave-proof bowl, and then go ahead and put them in there for about 2 minutes, give them a stir, and you can smell them starting to toast. So that is a quick and easy way to go ahead and toast your nuts. Okay, so I'm going to put about a 1/2 cup in here, in with my beets. And what we're doing is making a beet pesto. I'm going to go ahead and add some salt and I have red pepper flakes here. I'm going to add some red pepper flakes. And again, do not rub your eyes after putting your hands in red pepper flakes. So I'm going to put the top to the food processor on. And we are just going to pulse that. We want it to be kind of like a coarse texture. Nice. Okay. It looks very beautiful. I don't know if you can see that in the camera overhead, but it is a nice coarse texture. You can smell the toasted walnuts. It smells really good. Okay, so the pasta is just about done. I'm going to go ahead and try that. And you really just read the directions on the pasta package to know how long, because whole grain pastas do vary in cooking time than non-whole grain pastas. So, it's good. Needs another minute or two. And what we're going to do is, once the pasta is cooked, we're going to drain it. We're going to reserve some of the cooking liquid, and we're going to add the pesto on top of the pasta. I think I'll use this bowl over here to do that. Oh my goodness, I did forget an ingredient. So hold on, let me backstep. I forgot to add my tomatoes to this. So there is 1 small tomato that is just coarsely chopped up. I'm going to add that. So, story of my life. I'm glad I remembered before. Okay, so we'll give it another couple pulses, get those tomatoes in there. Now we're ready to roll. Okay, so let me just go ahead and I want to taste this for seasoning. And we'll season it all up at the end too. I love that. Really good. Really good. Okay, so pasta's just about done. I'm going to drain this, so I will be back in a jiffy. So the pasta is cooked. I reserved some of the cooking water, and it's right here. I'm going to go ahead and add the beet pasta or pesto to it. And what we're using the cooking water from the pasta for is just to kind of thin this mixture out, make it a little creamy. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the pesto in. Set that down here. And I want to add a little bit of water, I can tell already. And just touching the beets and putting it in the water, it's turning the water a lovely shade of pink. And I'm going to go ahead and use my tongs and just kind of toss it around. You don't get the full vibrancy of this dish because the bowl that I have it in is red, but it is really, really nice. Good for you. It has walnuts, it has the beets, whole grain pasta, and this is a great way, because the beets are chopped up so fine, it's a great way to even kind of disguise the beets for your children. But this is really just a gorgeous color. So there we go. Oh my gosh, and it turns the pasta kind of that beet red, so it really is nice. I'm going to go ahead and plate some up. Actually, before I do that, I do want to just taste it, make sure it has enough salt and pepper. And let's see, this should be pretty. Need a new bowl. That's good. Does need a little more salt. Just a little bit. And I hope you guys like it spicy. It's not too spicy, but it could be if you're not careful. Okay, so let me get a clean bowl. I'm going to go ahead and serve some up. And again, this would make about 4 to 6 nice portions. And it is hot. Yeah. Whoops. Put a little more of the beets on top. And then to finish this dish off, I love this. So to finish this dish off is you just take some ricotta, and again, you can use low-fat ricotta, and you just put like a dollop of ricotta right on top, and a couple more of the red pepper flakes, and drizzle with a little bit of olive oil, and it is ready to serve. And with a nice green salad, some crusty bread, you have a delicious dinner, something different. So enjoy.
Get your recipes today at cookhealthytoday.com.